ultimate benefit of using ChatGPT is really time conservation.
You can do the work of 10 people by yourself.
I work with advanced data analytics. The goal of ChatGPT, when we use it in the industry, is to use it with integrity, with caution, with data ethics in mind. I use ChatGPT to generate boilerplate templates for me.
But you should always be the one checking it in the end.
Anything that is spewed out needs to be seen with like a grain of salt.
Welcome to the Data and AI Talks. Today, we're going to talk a little bit about ChatGPT, generative AI in general, and more the practical use, how you can use it in data as a data engineer, because there's so much being said and it's a big hype. It has been for the whole last year. Everybody heard about it, I'm sure, but how can you actually apply it in your work? And I know people are trying to use it, but as a data engineer, it might be hard, or your company doesn't allow it, but there's actually a lot of uses that you can already do. So we're going to dive into it. My name is Vincent Spruit, and I'm from Sprout AI, and I help data engineers find the job that they love. With me today is Bash. Bash has a background in data engineering, data science, machine learning. He has worked all over the world. He's working right now in ING, originally from the Philippines, and he made a step to the US, to San Francisco, I think. But Bash, tell me a little bit more about yourself and how you got to where you are right now.
Yeah, thanks for the introduction, Vincent, and thanks for having me here in your podcast. So my name is Albert. I am currently a data scientist based in the Netherlands right now, but who can say what happens in the future? I've been working mostly with various organizations on how we can leverage AI to give impact and value to their organizations. Most of the things that I do, I work with statistical modeling. I work with advanced data analytics, also with computer vision, natural language processing. That's why I think it's really relevant for us to include some of those topics that other people or our audience can really relate to and maybe use in their own line of work as well.
Good. Yeah, you have already amassed a lot of followers yourself on LinkedIn. I saw that you have over 25,000 people. You know what you're talking about. You create a lot of interesting content, and you always try to engage with people. So you're always looking for the latest thing, and you have been using AI probably for a long time, even before it became popular. How are you now using it today in your work?
So I agree that that's an interesting concept, because I have been using machine learning when it wasn't called machine learning. We have this subject in research. We call it control systems. So machine learning for us is just a black box. It's just a black box algorithm where you have an input and you have an output, and you wanted to predict the system, how you can produce that output from your input. And now people just call it machine learning now. So it's really, really interesting how branding that's what takes place and how we can leverage these new flashy things that we use in the industries. But for my line of work, I mostly do two things: forecasting and data analytics. So forecasting, I work in a bank, so I do algorithms that will predict things that will happen in the future using mathematical algorithms. And then for data analytics, we wanted to understand our data better using patterns, using some, again, mathematics or algorithms to really understand what's happening in our data, so we can have better decisions and processes to streamline things and make our operations better.
Okay, and that sounds, of course, very complicated. Like I would use a glass ball to predict the future. You're actually using data to do it.
Yeah.
But in your work, this sounds very high level. We want to know, how do you actually use it? What is you wake up, you log into your computer, and then what?
A day in a life. So I do believe that we are also the modern wizards. So we are the modern oracles of our times, because now we can do the predictions now in a data-driven and evidence-based manner. So my day of work, I usually work from home or work from anywhere. That's the luxury that you get working in tech, right? You only need your laptop, you only need your servers, your cloud computing resource, and then you can just do it anywhere with a good Wi-Fi. So I think I start my day by logging on with my computer, checking on my model monitoring dashboard. So I do a lot of models, and I looked at how my previous models are operating, if there's any need of maintenance or checkpoints that I need to do. So
Yeah.
when you do modeling, you also need to, of course, create gate checks, whether something changed in your data that you need to look for and fix, some bugs that you might not have not catch before that just occurred recently. Once there's no problem, I just go on the day and look at my task, because in my line of work we use agile way of working. So we define our task in sprints. So I look at my task board, look at my tickets for the week. So in sprints, you work in a 2 week interval. So I already know what I have to deliver in 2 weeks. But that's the thing. In my line of work, you can you are not able to really like do your job in 2 weeks. You can do it in less than 2 weeks. That's why it is allowed in our company to really dedicate time in continuous learning, because there's a lot of new technologies that are published every day. So part of the things that I do in a day as well is to read new publications, new journals that would be helpful for me to understand or formulate better methodologies in my line of work. So I try to read the paper, try to implement the algorithm and code it on my own, see if it works, see if it improves the current models, the operational models that we have, and then give insights to our stakeholders, whether to pivot to a new model, to introduce new improvements, and so on. But that's basically it. It sounds boring, but it's really like interesting to see the interplay between your data, how they changes, how they become alive when you productionalize them. So it's really interesting. From abstract thing, you can also follow the life cycle to see its impact. Like for example, when I work in fraud detection before, so I was looking at interesting things. Now I was looking the patterns of hackers and scammers, and then I'm able to know them and identify their location using their IP addresses by just using AI and data analytics. So it's really interesting line of work.
So you're the Sherlock Holmes of the digital world now. You find the criminals.
Yeah, I've done that before, but right now it's not what I do. It's mostly just finance work. Still interesting, but yeah, a lot of background things that we do to understand finance and banking.
But tell me a little bit more about how you actually use ChatGPT. What kind of prompts would you use, and what would you get back from it?
For my line of work, it's actually different if you are using it as wearing a senior hat versus a junior hat. So in my line of work, I'm already senior in terms of my task in the organization that I'm with. Sometimes I would need data engineers to do the data cleaning for me. For example, I want them to create and execute some task. So for example, I have a big source code, but I just want like a person to create a small function, a small class that I needed to execute. I no
Yeah.
longer need a person to do that. I just have to properly embellish a prompt that is really direct and clear and concise, that would deliver that function to me directly. And I can test it out, and I can ask ChatGPT to create the test for that function as well to ensure that it works properly. But it's still some work that I have to do, because it's not ChatGPT coding the whole source code, but just a tiny function that I need. So that's coming from a perspective of a senior developer, that I don't need like data engineers or data analysts or data scientists under me to do certain tasks that I want to do. But for a
Yeah.
junior engineer, I think some of the things that I do, I'm still a junior, because I also have to learn new skill sets. Like for example, in the bank, I mostly use Python and R in my line of work. Then sometimes I have to implement Java and JavaScript. So I wear a junior hat. I'm still learning how to do that on my own. So I use ChatGPT to generate boilerplate templates for me. So now, for example, I wanted to create a website, or I want to create an API. I no longer have to do it from scratch. I can just describe the general structure that I want my code base to be, my file structure, how I want it to be structured, and then I feed it to ChatGPT, and it will spew out segments of code that I can copy and paste, and I will just structure it on my environment to my IDE and just run it efficiently. Change the variables, change the parameters based on my specifications, and voila. it finishes my day. So in actuality, when I wear different hats, the ultimate benefit of using ChatGPT is really time conservation. So for example, previously I worked 15 hours doing actual code a week. Now I can compress it to less than 5. So it really gives me more time to really look into my output, how I can translate it into impact, and even read more resources to make my methodology stronger. So that really helps me focus on the things that matter. So the manual and mechanical task, I can leave it to the machines because they
It's
do it
amazing.
proficiently. And now I can focus on a more domain specific knowledge or wisdom that I can give the machines so it can perform more efficient.
Yeah, interesting. So basically, in a 40-hour work week, you would maybe have to do this 15 hours, and now you only have to do it 5 hours. So you just gained 10 hours, and that is just in one specific task. You can probably apply to many different things. We agreed that you will also do a demo after this podcast, where you actually demonstrate how you do it. What kind of prompts are you using, right?
Yeah, indeed. So look forward to it. We're gonna share with you a demo of how we use ChatGPT to create an API. So basically, an API that would create a to-do list from scratch. So it's really interesting how smart ChatGPT is already, that it can understand the nuances of your instructions. But keep in mind that when dealing with ChatGPT, you don't necessarily have to give it the full instruction of what you need to do. I always tell this to my colleagues when using ChatGPT in work, that you need to know the concept of divide and conquer. So divide and conquer, you have complex tasks that you want to do, divide it into simpler tasks, make it into simple digestible questions, and ask it one by one and iterate from there. I think that would be the most effective one. And one thing that I should also mention is that ChatGPT isn't only useful in generating code itself. Mostly if you're a junior engineer, you also wanted to get directions, right? So if you have a question about architecture or about the general approach on how to solve this problem, this technical data engineering problem, you can also ask that. And not even just like coding, but general directions or steps that you can do to implement your data solutions or data strategies. So I also do it, like, for example, I want to benchmark my current methodology. So I play different hats. What if I'm this kind of like stakeholder? What do I want to see? In what features do I want to add in the solution? So that would also be helpful. Not only the coding part, but also the strategic part of doing the code itself.
Yeah. Yeah, I also saw in my industry, for example, how we use it to make an ebook. You can really create an avatar. Who is the person that's reading this?
Archetypes. Yeah.
Can you describe him? Can you give me more information about it? And when you're coding or when you're writing a story, it really helps to know, to have somebody to speak to, instead of just making it to a general public. And I think that's already a great feature.
Yeah, we call it in practice pair programming or shadow programming, and it helps programmer to do better and to do more efficient code because they learn with someone sitting beside them. But sometimes you don't have the luxury of having the actual person sitting beside us, and you can use ChatGPT to be exactly that. So someone who can check your code for you, or someone that you can shadow and watch him code, him or her or it, I'm not sure, but you can see how it generates in concept those instructions that you want to do in terms of your coding style or how you want your problem to be solved.
So I think if you're starting to learn data engineering right now, or engineering in general, I think you should definitely integrate ChatGPT from day one and follow the influencers, or the people who make content on this. See what kind of prompts you can use. Some are really helpful, some are less, but you should follow this trend because it will save you so much time and it will make you a lot better developer yourself. Some people think, well, AI is here to take my job, but that's far away. Some jobs will disappear pretty quick, but most of the jobs will be taken by people that use AI. It
Indeed.
will not be taken by AI, but people who use AI. So you need to get to that level and you will be so much more productive. You can do the work of 10 people by yourself at some point.
Indeed, we've been using technology since Egyptian times. So those who use it gets more opportunities and work done. Indeed.
Yeah, it's like saying, no, I want to walk everywhere. I'm not going to use the car or the bike. No, I think everybody understands it, but there's some criticism on if we should use AI, if it's going to take over the world, if it will destroy it. And there's scenarios where that's possible. It's unlikely. It's more likely that a person will do it using AI, but that's a talk for a different time. For now, I think that this demo that you're gonna do will provide hopefully some prompts that
Yeah.
you can use as a data engineer. As if you're junior or senior, doesn't really matter. We will provide the link in the description below as well.
Yeah.
Is there anything else you'd like to share with the audience?
Yeah. So I just wanted to mention that the results from ChatGPT is not absolute. Although it has knowledge, it doesn't have wisdom. So anything that is fused out needs to be seen with like a grain of salt. Like you need to really look into it and try and debug it. So uh, if you're using ChatGPT, you are still an engineer. You're still a programmer. You need to really do the due diligence to really look into the output, because a lot of companies are afraid that like entities would use ChatGPT to inject certain code that would hack their interfaces and so on, and that's a possibility. So really, the goal of ChatGPT when we use it in the industry is to use it with integrity, with caution, with data ethics in mind. So use it with caution, but use it. So that's really what I wanted to come across to our audience. There's so many things that you can do with it, but as with any tools, every tool is dialectic. You can use it for good, you can use it for bad, but you need to have that moral ascendancy. Maybe not only for your own, you need to discuss it. That's why diversity is also key when dealing with these kinds of technology, because you can get more inputs, you can get more of your biases removed if you just discuss it with as many people, learn from their experiences through the process. Indeed.
Great. I think that's a great note to end it on. ChatGPT or any Gen AI is very useful, but you should always be the one checking it in the end. You are responsible in the end for the result, and you should use it with caution. Thank you so much, Albert, or nickname Bash. And as always, this is the second time we had a call. I always think it's very interesting, the things you have to share. I hope that we will speak with you more. And if there's any questions coming to me, which I'm sure people will have, I will redirect them straight to you.
All right. See you online or in real life then.
Okay, thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye bye.